There is a reason why the enemy loves to kill things in seed form or baby form. And this is because he knows that if that thing is nurtured right and taken care of, then it would grow into what God had originally intended. And so, if I don't know who can relate, but most of us, especially if you are called to, a purpose with God, if God is going to use you or has told you in however way that he's going to use you, if you can reflect and look back over your childhood, there was a lot of things that happened to you where you developed a lot of insecurities and a lot of pain that you now have, and there's just so much that you have dealt with since childhood, to the point that whenever you begin to step into your purpose, that what God has showed you or called you to do, that the attack that he uses on you is self-doubt and feeling like you aren't good enough or incapable. And so if we go back to the story of Moses, where when God called him and told him that he wanted him to deliver the children of Israel, because he didn't have a sense of who he was, his real identity in God, and that part of him wasn't nurtured because of how he grew up, right? He began to speak to God and tell him that he couldn't because of his insecurity. So it was a thing that had grew in him, the seed that had grew in him because of what he thought of himself. And so he began to tell God all the reasons why, instead of just agreeing to what God said, and knowing that if God called me to do something, I can do it. And I believe that we all fall in that same trap where, the enemy begins to speak to us and tell us all these reasons why, we can't do something, or we begin to just doubt ourselves. And I think that the root of that is because we really don't have a sense of awareness of who God is telling us that we are. But whenever you begin to lay hold of who God is telling you that you are, it will help you better be able to step into the thing, regardless of how impossible it does seem. Because I think that's also the trick, right, that he uses, is because the thing that God calls us to do is a thing that is far beyond anything that we can really do of ourselves, right, of our own strength and abilities, and even our own resources that we have. And so when we just look at ourselves, we see ourselves as inadequate. We see ourselves as just not enough, or even having enough. And when you get to that place in your mind where you really begin to doubt yourself, or you just don't think that it's possible for you, the enemy will continue to use that against you. And if you allow him to, it will kill your calling. And I believe this is why a lot of people don't really fully step into the things, or do the things that can change the world, or do the things that can bring unity, or do the things that can just have a better impact on the world, because it just seems impossible, and it seems too big because of how you're looking at yourself, how you're viewing yourself. And so with that, we just gotta really start to see ourselves the way God sees us. I think that is the key that will unlock us, to unlock the confidence maybe in us to be able to pursue and do the things, with boldness that God has called us to do. And it also entails us having that relationship with the Holy Spirit, so the Holy Spirit can also empower us to do the things that we are called to do, again, because it's something that we cannot do simply on our own. So to that, I just wanted to encourage anybody who, whenever you get to that place in your mind where you are allowing the enemy, and I'm speaking to myself, when you are allowing the enemy to tell you that you can't do something, where you're not really quite seeing things right, seeing things the way God has told you to, because things aren't looking like what you thought it would by now, even when you're doing the thing that God called you to do, because sometimes it's not gonna look like it quite yet. And also that it in itself can be discouraging. But I just want to say that we have to begin to really view ourselves through the lens of God, right? Begin to ask God to show you how he sees you. And when you begin to do that more and more, then eventually, right, that seed will begin to take root and then will begin to grow whenever the enemy does begin to speak, and he will begin to tell you all these things that are a lie, because he is a liar, right? Then you will begin to counteract that with the truth, which is what God says. And so that is just all I felt that was needed, because again, that's something that I needed to tell myself, because I know that the enemy is going to always try to just deceive you in whatever way he can. And again, the biggest way he does that is getting you to doubt you. Do not allow the enemy to let you doubt you, because for sure he's not doubting you. That's why he wants you to doubt you, because he knows what you're capable of doing. So start pursuing God and God's truth about you, so that you yourself will know your true capability and what it is, and for you to do the things that God has called you to do.